We are live. Good afternoon. Hello, James. I have got a song for you. This is your choice, so bear with us. Can I ask you to mute yourself just in case you sing along?
You can.
Thank you. I can't believe I'm even doing this. See, I told you it was a challenge. It's because everyone's watching. So, think you can tell heaven from hell, blue skies from pain? Can you tell a green field from a cold steel rail? Smile from a veil. Do you think you can tell? Did they get you to train your heroes for gold? Hot ashes for trees, hot air for a cool breeze, cold comfort for change. Did you exchange walk on part in a war, or a lead role in a cage? And that's all you're getting because the show's about you and not about the song.
That was a really nice rendition, Ashley. I'm very impressed.
Thank you. So, James Crow, why did you choose Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd?
Well, Wish You Were Here is really close to my heart for a number of reasons. It's one of only maybe 2 or 3 songs that I actually know the words to, because I don't tend to hear words when people sing. I hear voices as music, which is why I never remember anything anyone tells me. And it was particularly fond of me because we were outside Stratford-on-Avon on the Welcome Hills during our graduation from exams at school, and we stayed up all night with a bonfire. And as the sun rose, we listened and played on the guitar to Wish You Were Here, and it was a fantastic moment that stuck with me forever. What the poor people of Stratford-on-Avon thought at dawn whilst they heard us screeching Wish You Were Here across the hills, I don't know, but for us it was a very special time.
Oh, that's a lovely story. Absolutely lovely story. Did I take you back there?
You did. In fact, you played and sang better than my friends, which I'm really pleased about. Otherwise, it would have been a dreadful performance.
Oh, bless you, bless you, bless you. That really is a challenging song. I'm a strummer rather than a picker, and so when you said about it, I thought, oh my goodness! So all weekend I've been practicing. So yeah, I think I got away with it. So James Crow, tell us who you are, please.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'm James. I'm a chap from Manchester in the north of the UK, and I run a small company called Posture Stars, where I help people with posture and ergonomic problems, which means that I sell ergons, which are the little things that keep people comfortable at their desks. And I'm also an Alexander Technique teacher, which is body mindfulness practice, and I have been teaching that for about 15 odd years. And it was the COVID situation that got me into ergonomics, because I needed to branch out, and I could also see into people's rooms when we went on to Zoom and Teams, and I realized why so many people were having pain that they were coming to Alexander Technique for, because they were sitting badly and working badly in their home offices. So now I help people with that.
Wow. I bet there isn't too many people that sell chairs. I know you do more than that, but I bet there isn't too many people that sell chairs that are Alexander Technique specialists. So that's incredible. So we're going to delve into that in a second. I don't know what Richard means, but not sure what you make of my singing. So I don't know what faces you were pulling. I was too busy looking at those strings. So I just want to ask you a few questions about LinkedIn. So what is it you love about LinkedIn?
I like the straightforwardness of LinkedIn. I am technical. I used to be really technical for my jobs before I did my last 20 years work. And I like LinkedIn because it just works. I really can't get on with Facebook. I never have. I think it's like people who use PCs and can't get on with Macintoshes and vice versa. So for me, LinkedIn is really straightforward, and it just does what I want it to do. and I find it a lot more respectful than some of the other channels as well, which I enjoy as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people say this to me about the respect, because what happens is if I comment on your post or whatever, you can go away and you can find out all about me. I've got my phone number. You know where you've got an idea of where I live. You know what job I do. You know my customers and stuff like that. So the last thing I'm going to do is be disrespectful to you. Whereas some of the other social media platforms, we can hide behind an avatar and we're not really that person. So I think that's why that comes. Don't you think?
Yeah, and nobody's going to be on this. Nobody's going to be commenting saying, "Oh, that Ashley plays guitar worse than Jeremy Beadle" or something like that. I think you're gonna get away with not being abused on LinkedIn in a way that you might do on some of the other channels. And I'm not saying I have had hassle on other channels. It's just when I see other people's stuff, I think, "Oh, ow," that's a bit mean. That's a bit off. So yeah, maybe it's just the exposure I've had, but I like LinkedIn most. And of course, I'm business to business as well. So although we do post on Instagram, and I think my wife posts on TikTok for me as well. For me, LinkedIn is generally where I'll spend my time. What little time I do spend on social media, which I'm sure you'll be quizzing me about shortly.
That's one of the things. So, look, talking about trolling, Richard's obviously got nothing better to do today.
Maybe Richard is thinking you were playing worse than Jeremy Beadle. I don't know.
No, he did. He says here, look, Jeremy Beadle was way better on guitar. That's
hilarious. There we go.
That's hilarious. So thank you, Richard. That's you off my Christmas card list. Do you use any other social medias? You've hinted that you have staff to do your TikTok, but do you use other social media?
Yeah, we do. So we have Instagram. We did try Pinterest ages ago, but we didn't really get anywhere with that. So it's mainly Instagram. I think stuff gets posted on my Facebook page, but again, I don't keep up with that. For me, it's just LinkedIn. And then we've started putting stuff on TikTok, but again, for me, it's just LinkedIn. That's what I like to I get work from LinkedIn, so it works for me.
That was going to be one of my questions. Do you get business from what you do on LinkedIn? Absolutely perfect. So tell us about that. What sort of things are you doing that is getting you business on LinkedIn?
Okay, so we have a weekly Wellness Wednesday series, a Wellness Wednesday series that people sign up to. So every Wednesday, I put out on LinkedIn just a short 1-minute video, which is really handy for companies who've got staff. They don't want people spending 45 minutes scrolling through some boring PDFs. They just want something really short and snappy. And then companies can sign up to that so that they can either get that wellness video for themselves to send over to their staff. So they get it on a Tuesday to hand to their staff on a Wednesday, or they just sign their staff up and their staff get it on a Wednesday. And that's really useful. And out of that, then people ask me to do webinars and workshops, and I get assessment work as well. Ergonomic assessments are where you help someone to sit more comfortably and deal with painful situations that they're in. And now that a lot of staff are working from home or in hybrid situations, there are some real poor working conditions, and I like working with those. So it's Wellness Wednesday. So posturestars.com/Wellness Wednesday, and that's where you can find all of those videos and so on.
Oh, that sounds absolutely fantastic. What you can do is, once we finish this, put that link in the back end of this, but also this is going to be on my podcast. And if you are listening to this now as you're walking your dog, listening to me on the podcast, in the show notes is that link for James's Wellness Wednesday. And I can't remember what the other W was. Too many W's, because you've got a webinar and workshops as well. So it's all going on there. So you say you don't do LinkedIn much. How much would you say on a daily or weekly basis?
Yeah,
number of hours or minutes?
I feel like the dentist saying, how often you're the dentist actually saying, James, how often do you clean your teeth? Now, I'm really sure I clean my teeth twice a day, but I don't go on LinkedIn twice a day. Probably once a day, just to check out what's going on. For less than 5 minutes, maybe. I haven't got a lot of time to spend on LinkedIn.
Right. Here's the thing. You do go on it every day, though, don't you?
I do go on it every day. I may not.
There you go. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because if you're there every day, you're showing up, and that's the thing. Yeah. And all you need to do is just put in a little bit extra, and you don't need to do much. As you know, I talk about 15 minutes a day. So you're way ahead of a lot of people. So if you're doing it every day, that's absolutely marvelous, just like the dentist would say. So well done. You can get a little sticker now, and you can have a little sticker for being a good boy and brushing your teeth. Thank you.
I want the lollipop. That's what I want.
Isn't that ironic? When you go to the dentist, it gives you a lollipop for being a good boy and brushing your teeth. Oh, those were the days. Those are the days.
Well, I mean, this is really what social media is, isn't it? It's an algorithm that rewards you for interaction. So if you play with LinkedIn, LinkedIn will give you your lollipop.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what makes the world go around. Lollipops and stuff like that. Okay. Let's talk about these ergons that you sell. How big is an ergon?
They're invisible. They're as long as a piece of string, and they're invisible. They're as expensive as the invisible pieces of string that Pilates teachers use to get people to stand up straight.
Okay.
So, which depends on how much the client has. But no, ergonomics. There are many definitions of ergonomics, but basically, for me, the area I focus on is at your desk. Can you be as comfortable as possible posturally, with the environment around you, and with how you interact with that environment as well?
I think for me, the first time I ever heard ergonomics would have been probably one of the car manufacturers. And I'm probably thinking it was Citroen, because they did all these funny things, having everything all around you, making it easy to fix. And I think that was when I first understood what ergonomics was. And that's going back a long time. And like you say, it's all about how close are things to you? Are you looking at the screen the right height and things like that? So what are a few tips that our listeners could take away today? What should they be doing, James?
Okay, so the thing I see most often is generally related to heights of stuff. People's feet aren't able to touch the floor. Maybe their chair's too high. Maybe their desk's too high. Maybe their monitor's sat at a poor height. So have a think about how you're sat in your chair. You want your feet to be flat on the floor. You want your hips to be just a little bit above knee height. And then when your elbows are resting down by your side and your hands are in front of you on your keyboard, you want your forearms to be level with the floor. And then you do whatever you can to make sure that your environment conforms to you being comfortable in your chair as well, which for some will mean raising their monitors so that their eye height's about the same as where you type into Google on the search bar, generally, roughly speaking, for most people. Some people will need to lower their monitors. And a lot of people, I find, tend to, if their desk isn't well positioned for them, they'll be leaning across their desk, putting a lot of tension, putting contact stress into their arms, craning their head and neck forwards, which podcast listeners can't see, but I'll do it for anyone else who can see that sort of thing on a computer where we're trying to see the screen better. So people tend to, when they start work, they make work the most important thing. And my job is to put that on its head and make how they're working the most important thing. So at a meta level, we're looking at, can you sit well so that you can perform better, so you can get more work done, rather than just jumping straight in and trying to get as much work done as possible, and then spending your evening complaining because your neck's achy and your shoulders hurt and you've got arm pain and all of that bad stuff, which so many people are suffering from. So put yourself first and put your work second. And the companies that I work with, they understand that, and they understand that if their employees put themselves first, they're more productive.
Yeah.
And companies who don't get that, who are just, you've just got to get this work done and stop your whinging, they don't get as much work done. And their staff don't respect them as much. And in this day and age, it's really important in terms of retaining your staff, in terms of staff feedback. There are all sorts of Glassdoor reviews that companies get, which are very bad. And in terms of attracting new staff as well. So there's a million reasons why you'd want to look after your staff. And at time of recording, it's 2023. Come on, guys. We're not in the Stone Age. Let's start looking after our staff.
It's incredible, isn't it, to think that how far we've come. I can remember my grandfather telling me that he worked in some of the mills, and the health and safety there was just crackers. People would lose their arms because of all the belts going around, and that was just one of those things. It's
unacceptable, though, didn't they, Ashley? So they could still do some work.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Stop their complaining and use their one good arm to keep working and stop the whinging.
But today it's just not acceptable that, you know, I've got a little bit of a back pain because I've been sat on my computer all day. You know, then and if you could transport somebody from those times to now, they go, hang on a minute, what are you doing? But you know, we've got to look after our health.
Yeah.
It's so important. I see you're standing.
Yeah, I'm standing. So there's a few reasons for that. I employ Hedge's 3S's, a wonderful guy called Alan Hedge, who came up with a nice little heuristic for sitting and standing. So those of you who've got sit-stand desks, you want to be sitting for about 20 minutes, standing for about 8, and moving around or stretching for about 2. And that adds up to 5.5 hours of sitting, a couple of hours of standing, half an hour or so of stretching during the day, which is a really nice thing. Secondly, because I teach people all this stuff, I tend to stand here and demonstrate. So those with video will see behind me, I've got a workstation set up so I can show people exactly what they're doing. And I don't like sitting down all day. I used to do that for a living in IT, and it's not particularly comfortable. Getting up and moving around is a great thing. So I have a sit-stand desk. I do use it sitting and standing. I really want to get this point across. So many people get a sit-stand desk and then they'll either sit all day at it or they'll stand all day at it. Please, it's the movement that makes the difference. It's not being static sitting or static standing that makes the big difference. So yeah, and I love to stand, and also because I present on my online workshops and webinars, standing is a no-brainer, and it also helps with presentation skills. People in sales tend to perform better if they're upright because there's more to them. I'm not a salesy guy, but I do like to help people, and I do like to be animated on camera. So when I do my workshops with people, online workshops and webinars, I don't use a single slide sheet. That Microsoft PowerPoint does not exist in my world. It's all live, and I think that's how people can learn, if they can see what's going on rather than just reading about it. And you're standing yourself, Ashley.
Oh, so yeah, this sit-stand desk that I've got is the best thing I have ever purchased for my business. Really, you know, I'm animated, and I always, I'm like you. You give so much more if you're able to move around. You're not restricted. You know, you have a meeting with somebody and they're sat in a chair. They just look ground down.
Ground down, exactly that, Ashley. Ground down.
Yeah.
By Zoom meeting and Teams meeting, after Zoom meeting and Teams meeting, with no gap in between them, and they're ground down. Listeners, if that's you, you can actually stand during these meetings. Nobody's going to reprimand you for standing. They're not going to all suddenly gasp and point at the screen and go, "Oh my God, they're standing!"
You got Lieutenant Dan. You got legs.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, though, playing the guitar is so much easier when you stood up. So yeah, but the way I work is I sit down, do my work, and then when I've got a meeting, so whether it's live like this or it's a Zoom meeting, I'm stood up. So I would suggest that I'm 50% standing. Is that too much, James?
Not really. If you're able to do so. I mean, there are downsides to standing all day. It's still a static posture for many people. It can increase likelihood of varicose veins and thrombosis. I'm not sure about the facts and figures behind that, but I'm told it can. It's tiring. It can give you plantar fasciitis standing all day. So, you know, some people are going to be happier standing for long periods of time than other people. And just do what works for you. That includes moving throughout your working day.
No, definitely move. That's not a worry. I think the standing thing is, I trained as a chef and I had 10 years in hospitality. So I was always on my feet. So when I first got a job in the office, that was a bit weird, not being able to move. And back then we didn't have ergonomic designs and stand desks. Yeah, absolutely.
I remember
crazy.
my first desk job, Andy, and Ashley, you're not Andy at all, Ashley. And it was really weird, as you say, sitting down. And in those times, people smoked in the office. And so what they tried to do was stop all this smoking in the office all the time. So they said, on the hour, you're allowed a cigarette. And so in this, everybody be sat there for all day, but every hour, you couldn't see anyone else in the rest of the room because 90% of the room was sat there smoking fags. It was a terrible, terrible working environment.
It's hilarious. And when you think back to those times, we're watching a series on the TV at the moment. It's called Gold, or The Gold or something. It was all about the Brinksmack robbery, and every single scene, someone's got a cigarette on. There, everyone's smoking, because that's what it was like. It was always this fog everywhere, wasn't there?
Yeah.
So what type of customers do you specifically work with, James?
I work with SMEs, so a lot of the larger companies, they've got the wherewithal to get on top of this stuff, and they'll bring in really big players to look after their staff, or they'll sort it out in house. So I don't know if you knew, but 95 to 99% of the country's employers are SMEs. It's vast. Only a small amount of employers here on LinkedIn will have anything over 250 staff. So I tend to work sort of companies between 5 people and 75 people, that sort of range, doing local stuff around Stockport and Manchester, and then doing the online stuff. I do a lot of work in America and Canada, which I really enjoy. Those guys are great. But for example, tonight I'm working with people in California, so I will be doing remote stuff up to half 9 at night. So it's kind of non-standard, my working hours, due to being an international man of mystery.
Yeah, that's cool. That's it. Isn't it amazing that nowadays we can absolutely work anywhere? So do you actually supply the equipment?
I can supply the equipment. I try to be independent, but I do have a preferred list that I can recommend to people. But depending on what if someone needs something in particular, I'm never going to try and sell them something where I can make a quick profit on it. I'm always going to point them in the right direction to get what they want. And where possible, I also try and use whatever's available to the clients in their home environment. So you can raise a monitor. You don't have to buy a really expensive monitor. You can, but you can raise them using Jamie Oliver books.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Finally, a use for all those Jamie Oliver books that have been for years. I did contact Jamie Oliver's people, and I told them I've got a use for all your books, and told them all about it, and they never got back, I think.
It used to be the Yellow Pages, didn't it?
Yeah, it used to be any book. We don't get the Yellow Pages anymore, but
no.
Yeah. So where possible, we try to help people without them having to spend stuff. And a lot of the time, they've got a chair, but nobody's ever told them how to configure it, how to set it up. And once you show them what's going on, you can usually get people sitting a lot more comfortably. And then you just make some general improvements to the working environment. Where it doesn't work, then you need to get equipment for people, and that can get complicated. Does the company buy the equipment for the people? Do the people buy the equipment for the people? Who owns it? How do you track the assets? What happens if you leave after 3 months? And it's a very complicated area and relatively new, so it's all kind of up in the air at the moment. The snow globe has been shaken, and all the bits of snow are still in the air. So it'll be interesting to see where it settles.
Well, the thing is, if I go to work at an office, I walk in, they've got a building, they've got the heating, and there's a desk for me, there's a chair for me, so they pay for it all. But if I'm working at home, surely they should provide all of that for me. But that's why the snow globe is still spinning, I suppose.
Yeah, the snow globe is still doing its thing.
Yeah, no, incredible. So here's a thing then. I as a chef, it's in my being. So whenever I go out for a meal, I'm always thinking about what I would have done or how it would taste and stuff like that. When you're out and about, all right, and you jump in someone's car and you watch them driving, do you sort of like, oh, your seat's not set properly, your steering wheel's too far? Do you notice all of these things, or?
It's a curse, because I've been an Alexander Technique teacher for the past 15 years, and we're always talked about as, oh, you're the posture people. So when you say that, people stiffen up and they try and stand up straight, and a bit inside me just goes, oh no, here we go again, because people are tensing in order to try and improve their posture. But yeah, wherever I go, I'm always spotting stuff, and I don't talk about it generally. If I'm in, we'll go back to dentists. I'm always hassling dentists. Makes it sound like I go to the dentist a lot, but I've actually got beautiful teeth. Maybe that's because I do go to the dentist a lot.
Absolutely.
I'll hassle dentists about what they're doing to their reception staff, because they'll have some tiny pokey little desk and everything will be set up badly, and they'll have bought them an ergonomic keyboard that's bigger than the desk, because surely an ergonomic keyboard will fix it. So yeah, I do tell those people. But people ask me, my wife, my children, people I know, do I tell them off about bad posture or anything like that? And the answer is no, I don't, because nobody wants a bore in their life.
But nobody wants a pain in the neck, do they?
Nobody wants a pain in the neck. No,
That's the other problem, isn't it? So
I
you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
I'm too generous. I've got some online courses with video training, and I generally just give it to free for people I feel a bit sorry for, and say, here you go, look, just go and have that for free. I can't stand seeing you being in pain. Please go and sort yourself out.
No, that's amazing. We're out of time. We've definitely gone over our 15 minutes. What do you do when you're not working and when you're not on LinkedIn, James?
Okay, well, I like the finer things in life. I've worked in a lot of restaurants, and I like to cook myself, so I know how you feel when you're in a restaurant. So I really enjoy cooking. I love exercising. I love throwing around great big heavy bits of iron in the gym. And if I haven't done that a couple of times a week, I start to feel really caged in and cramped. I think I'm supposed to be inside. I think I'm supposed to be the world's strongest man, but on the outside, I'm just an average Joe. So unless I've thrown some big lumps of iron around, I don't feel happy. And we live in Stockport, which kind of backs onto the Peak District. So I love going out for, as everyone does, countryside walks and making the most of the beautiful British countryside, which is just starting to come into its own now. We're in spring here, and finally we're getting a bit of light, and you can walk without your nose falling off with frostbite.
Fantastic. I've got one more question, but before we go into the questions, I just want to get up my guest for next week, because next week I am joined by the lovely Nadine Thompson. Now, Nadine is an SEO expert, so I'll be quizzing her all about my SEO and stuff like that. So if you've got any questions, please come and join us. You've been a lovely guest today, James. My last question is, what tip would you give your 16-year-old self?
I would say to my 16-year-old self, never stop running, because when I'm running in life, the world's a wonderful place. And when I'm not running in life and being lazy and not getting that exercise in, generally the world is less wonderful than it could be. So there have been times in my life when I've stopped running, and I would say to myself, don't let those times occur. You've got to keep your exercise up to feel good too.
Fantastic. What a great bit of advice. James, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody for all your comments, and we will be back again very soon. Cheerio, James. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me.
You get out what you put in. Never gonna lose, never gonna win. Long as you're happy, you're always gonna grin.